Here I am with Papi Tommy in another episode of Conversations with Papi. Thank you guys for all the support that we have so far. And on this episode, we will talk about a bunch of things related to safety, related to traveling around the world, and of course, health, among other things that we're going to talk about. So, what do we have for today?
Well, thanks again for setting this up, son, and giving me some time to talk about. Most of what we'll talk about today is from personal experience, not what we've researched, which we'll add later, but it's research. I mean, it's based on experience from my own travels. And now that you're starting to become a global travel, we'll be adding stuff from yours because you have to always learn and you can't
Yeah.
anticipate everything. But he's made a list of a dozen things we plan to talk about, trying to keep me on script. So we'll make a point and then we'll come back and say, well, here's what happened to me on a few cases. But one thing before we start, in our earlier presentation, we noted that Assie's a Dominican national. I'm a U.S. citizen, although I've spent most of my adult life in the Caribbean area, so I think I'm a Carabeño, although my Spanish is lousy. Okay, but one thing I need to say, because later in the podcast or in future ones, I'll make a statement that could have political connotations. So let me be forthright and admit what I am at the
Yeah,
beginning.
do a disclaimer.
Yeah, a disclaimer maybe. I am neither Republican nor Democrat. I am by nature and by education an engineer. So what do I care about? What lens do I use to look at the world? Is it practical? Is it safe? Is it efficient? And then on top of that, because we're Christian,
Yeah.
not it's wired into us. Is there a reasonable degree of mercy tied into it? It doesn't you can't go through life just cold hearted. So sometimes those four criteria will make me sound to the right of the most right-wing Republicans, but at other times, some people will say, "Oh, but you're even to the left of at least mainstream Democrats." I don't think I'm to the left of the woke, but somewhere in the middle. And those are my criteria. And if I ever make a comment that I can't support with those four criteria, please tell me, make me defend myself, make me defend what I'm saying. It's not my intention to be harsh. Okay, so
Okay.
you ready?
Sure.
All
Let's go
right.
ahead.
First thing, when you're traveling internationally, and it's kind of a weapon and it kind of protects you in a variety of ways, is that old expression, don't leave home without it, but it's not American Express. It's your passport. I don't leave the hotel without this in my pocket and a picture of it on my computer and a backup hard drive in case I lose this. You need to be able to prove who you are.
Yeah.
So I always have this. And if for an extended stay, I may have some local currency, but I always try to have $100 or so of US dollars because you can anticipate all of your emergencies or any. And there we've run in Curaçao the quaint practice of gas stations don't want to take a credit card.
Yeah. For
So
some
if you
reason.
don't have cash in your pocket, that could cascade into other problems. So point number one, if you're going internationally, have your passport,
Passport and cash.
and cash.
Yeah, of course. It will
So
help. It will help you out, and it will save you in. Let's not say difficult situation, but common situations actually, such as buying a bottle of water, because it happened to me a few days ago. I went to the mini market to buy a six-pack of water, and the people in there, since I didn't trust them, I had to pull out cash. And was the debate, either I pay with local cash or I pay with US cash. The advantage here is that they take both.
yeah,
But when you pay
not
with,
everybody
not
though.
everybody though, yeah. But when you pay with US currency, the change will be in the local currency,
Yes,
which
yeah.
is pretty much worthless if you are not used to that currency. But of course, you can spend
Yeah.
the local currency as well.
Actually, you've raised a point that's very important. Be very careful where you use a credit card.
Yeah.
Not everybody's honest. And you don't
Hmm.
know, even if the store owner is honest, you don't know if somebody has rigged the machine that's reading the credit card. So you, on a later podcast, we'll talk about ways to protect yourself if you are using plastic. But if you're in dicey areas or places that they don't want or you don't want to
Yeah.
use the plastic, make sure you have some cash because that may be your only recourse.
But at least here in Curacao, there's something curious that even though you plan ahead and bring with you enough cash to cover the whole staying here in the country that you are visiting, at least here in Curacao, everybody wants you to pay with the card.
Except the
In
gas
terms,
station.
yeah, in terms of restaurants and
Yeah,
supermarkets in the mall, for
yeah,
example, even the waitress, the day that was in the restaurant, she came with the check and the thing to pay with the card. No, no, I'm not gonna pay with the card. I'm gonna pay with cash. Okay,
yeah, yeah. Well,
but yeah,
funny stories with credit card machines. Maybe it's because I went to school when high school meant something before it was dumbed down in the United States. But I've given up telling the waiter or the waitress add 10% for your tip or 15 or 20%. They can't do the math. They go, you get the dough in the headlight look. So I have to say, oh no, put $16 or
yeah,
I estimate it myself. They just can't do it. So humorous, it's a change of generation. But on to the next point.
yeah. Moving on
Okay.
to
When you travel, all the world's governments are correctly concerned about security and terrorism. And all the world's governments typically, when they want to protect innocent citizens, their first step is to disarm you. This is true in the United States. This is true getting on an airplane.
yeah,
You can't carry a gun or a weapon, a knife or a taser. To me, it would be more practical if they would license certain trained people. That ought to add to the safety of everyone. But that's not the case, sadly. So I've always been concerned with self-defense. In the prior podcast, I pointed out that I'm a senior student in a Chinese martial arts system, and I took the time to get an extra certification with them to be a self-defense trainer. So it's very important to me, and I've had situations in the street, last man standing. If you don't defend yourself, nobody else was gonna. You lose, and you can lose in a big way.
yeah,
So one of the things that I've always doing, and engineers always like to have a pen, that's just the way we are, is that on Amazon for only a couple of dollars, you can buy this rather fat pen. And you can't see it in detail, but it's gnarled to make it easy to grip.
yeah,
One end is tungsten tip. They say, and I believe it, that if I had to open a car window in an emergency, that brute force focused on a tiny
yeah.
point that's
And it
hard
will
as
break the
tungsten,
glass.
the glass will
Yeah,
shatter. And I've seen videos, I've never done it myself. And obviously, for a variety of reasons we won't get into, this can help you in a self-defense
yeah,
situation. And I usually carry several pens, and I usually put this with the several pens. And so far, no one in security has questioned this. But shortly after 9/11, I tried to travel with my self-defense baton. I lost that self-defense baton. I tried to say it was a unipod for my camera. Someday I'll tell you how I got that idea from a special ops guy. And the guy that was doing security was a retired ranger. And he goes, son, I know what that is. I'll let you through this time. Don't ever show up with it again.
Yikes.
So, okay. So, at any rate, a pen is always handy. And this particular kind of
Yeah,
pen is very handy if you're inclined to think in terms of self-defense. I've never had to take it out and use it, but I have had to take it out riding with a cab and he's going through a dicey neighborhood that I didn't
you
anticipate,
pull it out just in case.
or I just have it in my hand walking. Nobody's going to go in panic mode over it. And I've had it in my hand several times walking on streets. Because I love to walk as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
As for exercise, and I get to know the neighborhoods where I am. And a couple of times I've had it out, but I haven't had to go and do anything more than that than just have a pen in my
So,
hand.
so you haven't used that in emergency cases yet?
No, yet. And I hope to God I never have to, not to break a piece of equipment or a piece of
Good,
glass.
good.
And I certainly hope I never have to hurt anybody seriously with either with my hands or with anything. I would love to slide into the grave in 20 more years, cross my fingers on that, that I have never had to
Yeah.
hurt anybody
With the pen.
with any method other than what I've already done.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that. So, okay.
But yeah, I do remember that you gave me one of those.
Yeah.
It was gray, if I'm not mistaken, like a metal gun gray.
Yeah.
And I take it to school because I thought it was fun to show it off. And it ended up pretty nice because they didn't know you could use it as a weapon or as a tool to escape from tight situations. But yeah, I'm not gonna dive into in details, but I was showing off the capabilities of the pen. But yeah, moving on. Would you like
As
to
your
say?
dad, I never got a call from the school.
Oh no,
How did you cover that up? How
Bec-
come I don't know?
because I said it was just a pen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You got away with it.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course.
Hey, every one of my kids I've gotten that call from the school or the police at least once with every one of them. That's part of growing up, I
No,
guess.
no,
Okay.
not with me at least.
Okay. Oh, here's the next thing. I'm glad I stacked some
Yeah.
stuff up.
The C clip.
The next thing is C-clips when you travel. This one actually has a lock on it, and you could probably trust this good enough steel quality with your life climbing, which might be handy if you ever needed it to climb out of a hotel window. But hey, if the place is on fire,
Yeah, you gotta save it somehow.
so I have always one of these, but I always have the bigger one that you can buy in a lot of grocery stores.
Yeah.
That it's aluminum. I don't think I'd have to be desperate to trust my weight to it, but it's bigger and it doesn't have the lock. So I put both of them on the arms of my drag bag suitcase. And you're allowed, at least so far, to have a backpack. Because I'm getting older, my wife bought me a backpack that actually has wheels. So when I'm walking around the airport, I don't have the backpack on, I'm dragging two bags.
Yeah.
And then when you sit down to read your emails, talk on the phone, be half asleep, whatever you're doing, most people will lose track of watching their bags and you can be robbed. So the first step is to use this or the bigger one to connect backpacks, whether they got wheels or not, and whoever you're traveling with, make a 2 or 3 bag connection and hook the handles together. If you're distracted, nobody can easily drag them, and it's going to make a noise even if they didn't realize that the 3 bags were connected. Now, I have to admit, I'm paranoid. Paranoid is its own reward, doesn't mean I'm wrong, okay? But I actually was set up by the airport police, airport security in Rotterdam. I had my carry-on with my very valuable computer in it and a typical drag bag. And it was early in the morning. I was waiting for a connecting flight and I was distracted. And then what I didn't know is that the police arranged for 2 people to get into a violent argument about 20 feet away. So of course I looked. You look, am I protected? What's going on? So I'm watching this man and woman just argue. It's not a security issue. And then when they were done arguing, I went back to what I was doing. And that's when I looked down and found that my backpack with my computer and the drag bag were gone. You cannot imagine the panic situation.
Yikes.
Had everything in it. My passport was not in my wallet, in my pocket. Okay, I had credit cards and some cash, but everything else of any value and importance was gone. And there were other people sitting around. Nobody looked alarmed. Nobody jumped up and said, "Oh, I saw that guy take your bag." And I swear to God, I was only distracted for a few seconds, but it was more like a minute or so later, I found out. And I jumped up and I was jumping around, looking in every direction. And then here.
But did you find it at the end?
Well, yeah, but not the way I expected. A policeman walked up to me and I said, "Well, thank God you're here." And then he said, "Calm down. We stole your bag." And I go, "What?" I started to get angry.
It doesn't
And
make
he said,
sense.
"Calm down. all of these people are part of the whole deal. We warned them. We saw you sitting there, and we told them we were going to create a distraction to show them how easy it is to create a distraction and walk off with somebody's bag, even though it was right next to you. So they all knew, and that's why none of them were pointing to anybody. Maybe if it was a real situation, some good Samaritan might have gotten involved.
Yeah.
But in today's world, you can't even count on that.
Yeah.
So then the other one showed up with my bag and everything. I have to admit, it was a couple of days later before I thanked them in my heart, in my mind. I was that mad. I swear my blood pressure went up. It was not a healthy situation for me, but it taught me absolutely it is easy to distract you. There's the value of these clips, because thieves understand human nature. And the other thing is, on the bigger C clips, when I'm not connecting my bags, when I'm getting ready to get on the plane, I put my noise canceling headphones on the clip
as well.
So it's already out, so
Okay.
I can disconnect and get stuff in the overhead bag easily. But this is for the security of anything you're taking with you. And if you only have one bag, clip it to the leg of your chair, or clip it to your shoestrings or something.
Something that
it doesn't have to be two bags.
Yeah, in case that somebody pull it, you might
you'll
notice
know. It'll
right
make
away.
a noise.
Yeah.
So that one, based on really bitter but a very profound example. If that hadn't happened to me, I'm one of those kinds of people. Oh, you can't distract me. I'm too alert. I'm too aware of the situation. That's not true. So there you have it, son.
Yeah.
Run out and buy a C-clip, because I noticed on your luggage you didn't have one.
No, I don't. I don't.
Buy one. Buy one when you get home, or I'll give you mine for your trip home tonight.
What I used to do is just put because I don't travel with that large amount or large quantity of luggage. I used to travel just with the carry-on and maybe a bag. Or
that's
just
all
one.
I had, but it was what's in it.
Yeah,
the
but
thief doesn't know.
What I do is the carry-on, if it's on wheels, I put my backpack on top of it, and I will just carry the stuff all the way around. But the things, the straps that you put in the backpack,
you
those
tie things together.
Yeah,
okay,
I cross them
yeah.
in the bar, and that's
okay.
my way to secure it.
I've even seen one person take off his belt.
What?
Yeah, I think he saw me with the C-clips. He didn't have a C-clip, so he took his belt off and tied the bags together to his armchair. But it's easy to distract you. Don't become a victim. You know about the situation. There's a stupid, remember, I'm an engineer, so we like corny jokes. But it was the 5 or 6 P's of planning. Preliminary planning prevents poor performance. You can substitute whatever letter you want, whatever word you want beginning with P. So think about things in advance. And in fact, that's an underlying theme of everything we're going to talk about.
There's a shorter one from that, which is the KISS. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
I learned that from my multinational. It's not that I'm trying to hide who I work for. It's just they may not really want to be associated with me. But yes, you're absolutely right, and I'm glad you remembered that. Okay, let's move ahead.
Moving to the
whistle.
Grocery store travel safety hacks. A whistle. That you can find it everywhere you go.
You could even a toy whistle. But I bought on Amazon for like $5 a metal whistle, because I bought a plastic one and the plastic thing broke because I had it on my keychain. So now when I travel, and it's in my bag right now, so when I go out I have it. Why a whistle? If you fall down and get hurt and nobody notices, you're in a remote site, you might fall over an embankment. And that's the story I'll come back to. Having a whistle is handy. Or if somebody is attacking you and you don't have lungs or a loud voice, or not loud enough, blowing the whistle, high-pitched whistle, you don't know if people will come to help you, but the attacker doesn't know that people won't come.
And it will attract attention also.
Yeah. So I think a lot of self-defense and safety people, or even the average policeman, would tell you, travel with a whistle. It's the one I bought, and I have one, and my wife has one. It's not much bigger. It's half the length of this pen,
Mm-hmm.
and it's way thin, and it's not obvious what it is, and it's entirely metal, so you don't get the break in the chain. And I had to use it once. I was in a car accident in the countryside in Argentina, my own stupidity, on a gravel road. I grew up driving on gravel roads in North Carolina, but rough gravel, broken, sharp gravel is one thing. Sea smoothed or river smoothed gravel is like driving on ice.
Yeah.
And I found that out. I did a when I touched the brakes to try to avoid hitting a goat, went down in an embankment and then up in the air and then landed exactly on the front bumper of the car. I had a huge imprint of a steering wheel. I had a seatbelt on, but that doesn't protect you from everything. And then a car rolled over on its side. And I had trouble getting out of the seatbelt, getting out of the car. First thing I did was started blowing the whistle. Then I was able to get out, sat on the side of the road, and was able to help attract attention 30, 40 minutes later with a farmer that was driving by. Maybe he was the owner of the damn goat that caused the accident. I don't know, but he did help me. God bless him. Okay. What is next here? We have a numbered list, so I don't just ramble on forever.
Yeah. So let's follow it.
I misspelled it.
The flashlight.
That's supposed to say flashlight.
It's a flash, but that's okay.
Flashlight, taser. Any of the recommendation that we're going to make, that we're going to discuss from our own experience or from others that we read, it's implicit that obey the local law, or if you decide not to obey the local law, that's your decision. We will not recommend that you break any law. And if I ever find out that this is unwelcome on airlines, then I will quit carrying it. But when I drive around the United States, first thing I do before I travel is what states honor my concealed carry permit for Florida. And I'm licensed and I'm trained by Marine Recon, Army Rangers, even a Navy SEAL was kind enough to spend some time with me on handling a pistol. So I'm capable and I travel with that. And I typically also have a taser that I bought from my wife primarily in the United States.
A regular taser?
No, there's several kinds, and there's the kind that's a gun and the little wire has to put the needle in it. And I went to a gun store to get advice, and I said I wanted something that my wife felt handy with. I like the idea of and not having to have an extra flashlight, but I didn't know what to get, and I didn't like the idea if she shot the needles, maybe she misses, or maybe the guy's coat's so thick it doesn't hit the flesh. Yeah. And as it turned out, the guy pointed to a woman at the next counter. Tiny little thing, and probably her late 40s, early 50s. She was a woman's self-defense instructor. If I could remember her name, I would tell you. She knew her stuff, and she recommended a specific kind of flashlight that had a high beam, a low beam, a red beam for flashing on and off, just to attract attention. But if you flipped one button to turn it on and then touch people with it, 50,000 volts.
Yikes.
Now, you could say, well, that won't stop that guy 10 feet away. No, her attitude was she wanted to make sure she stopped the guy that was in the process of touching her as a woman. She admits, I can't stop the guy 10 feet away or 5 feet away. But if he gets close enough to touch me, I touch him. Okay. It's all over. If you don't believe it, watch a video what 50,000 volts does to the biggest guy you've ever seen, okay? But it's not deadly. That was the other thing she emphasized. And she made an interesting comment. Most people are horrified at the thought of killing another person, as they should be, And most women are even more horrified by that idea than a man. Men are a lot colder in the heart than women. That's the nature of the beast. And she felt that 50,000 volts was enough to protect at least 99.9% of women, and it wasn't deadly. She thought the situation through very carefully. So I think this is good for my wife. Periodically, I go through a drill, turn on the different lights. Now turn on the thing because it makes a little zit
Yeah.
noise when you first turn it on. So I know she knows how to use it, because having it and knowing how to use it are two separate things. So,
Hmm.
and that was the other point with this lady who was,
Have you guys used it in self-defense situations?
no, but I've had it in my hand several times.
Okay,
And
just in case.
when we're around in the United States, I have it in my pocket. The end of the flashlight has a rather unusual curvy metal
Hmm.
that if somebody was really looking close, they might notice, but it's just a yellow and black plastic flashlight, standard size. It can be charged through a USB connection too, which means you don't have to be running to the store to buy
Okay.
batteries.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of them. I don't even remember offhand the name of this company. If anybody wants to know, contact ASSI and I'll track down the name of the company and send you the contact information. I'm not looking, maybe we should look for a commission. I don't know.
Could
But
be.
we're not lined up for a commission, okay? But it's handy. My wife is comfortable with it. And if I'm in a place where the government says I can't have
Hmm.
a pistol on me, I obey the law. I don't carry the pistol in those places. But the taser is very handy, and it's a flashlight which can help in any other
Yeah.
emergency situation. So, uh,
What I
but
li-
obey the law. Don't. We're talking international travel. You, if you asked, you would probably be told no, you can't bring that on the plane.
Mhm.
And in most countries that I've been in, outside the United States, I've asked, and the majority of times I've been told, no, you can't have anything to defend yourself because, God forbid, you should hurt a mugger or a
Yeah.
rapist. I mean, they have rights, they
Where
need to be protected.
where I live in Santo Domingo, I think I will have to buy one of those taser flashlights because my wife and I we use public transportation
Yep,
constantly to
there you go.
commute. But those places, like in the bus, for example, is where the thieves take advantage of distracted people. So I think it will be very useful for us to have one of those, and also
Yeah,
you
I'm
can charge
laughing,
it.
but now I owe you an explanation. On the bus, you're exactly right. I've spent quite a bit of time in Panama crossing the country. If you do the speed limit, it
Hmm.
takes about an hour and a
Yeah.
half. The way we drive, it's about 45 minutes. But if you take the bus, there's been several instances, and I love Panama and I love everybody I've met there. I highly recommend it as a place to visit.
But
But people get on the bus that are thieves
mhm.
and they wait until you're in the middle of nowhere on this highway. They put a gun or a knife to the driver, they rob everybody, jump over the rail, and run into the jungle. So if it was legal and you
Mhm.
had that flashlight, you might be able to not get robbed
Yeah.
there or scare them away. And a whistle would be helpful too. But I'm going to say it, and I know a lot of macho self-defense people that it's a macho type business, and the martial arts is. I'll admit it. I'll give you the advice of my martial arts master. One, don't go in situations where you're isolated. Don't bring that much money to you, and if you're reasonably sure that whoever's attacking you only wants your watch or your valuables, give it up. You
Sure.
can't go to an emergency room with needing a couple of stitches or a cracked arm or test for less than $1,000 in today's
Definitely.
world.
Yeah.
Give it up.
Yeah.
Go into self-defense mode when it is defense of self. That
Hmm.
guy or that woman, that person wants to harm you. Don't put yourself in that situation over a bloody ring or your wallet. Don't carry that much stuff with you, and don't go to those isolated
Yeah.
places if there's any way to avoid it. That's
Hmm.
the first line of self-defense.
And now that we have talked about self-defense and protecting ourselves and protecting the people around us, do you have any advice on protecting your devices, such as a computer, your phone, or some gadgets
Yeah,
that you might travel with?
let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about more than just self-defense.
Hmm.
Let's expand the area. Let's expand our defense perimeter. Okay.
Okay.
As my Navy SEAL friend, God love you, Preston Green, would say, the enemy is inside the perimeter. God love him. God love all of them. Yeah, something as simple as your phone. It's great. It's great to call the police. It's great to call for emergencies. What if you lose it? I have a string around my neck. I look like the ultimate geek. My wife cries when I wear a fanny pack, but she's okay with this primarily because I lose this 3 or 4 times a day and I'm just in the house.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm the ultimate geek, but I have this around now. So I'm sure I'm not going to lose my phone. But what if I don't keep it charged? That happens all the time.
Yeah.
If it's not charged, it's useless. So one, travel, and doesn't have to be top flight phone. It can be low tech, cheap.
Mm-hmm.
When you're traveling in your own country or internationally, have a backup phone. Charge it before you get on the plane. And I found that maps here in Curaçao, the local map is very good. It works perfectly on an Android phone. It does not like iPhones. I've been in the middle of nowhere going to somewhere that I can only see on the map with word names that are so long, there's no way to pronounce it or even read it. And my iPhone map just goes, goodbye, no such place. So I have the Android phone.
The only problem with the Android using the Google Maps, which is what we use with the Android for the GPS and stuff, is that it will take you to every single back road possible.
Yeah,
to get you there.
Here in Curaçao, there's no way to say stay on the highway or avoid the toll bridge. So you're going to see you're going to see the real Curaçao. You're going to go on every back road there is, rather than just staying on main roads.
I love it, but it's hard to stay to the main road and to a single route when the map is taking you to a different street every time.
Plus the fact there's a response time, and it says turn up ahead. It's the turn you just passed. So that's and then it takes a while to regroup.
Yeah.
So, but to Assie's credit, he's been here a week. And he's seen 5 times the amount of this island that I have coming in and out over the last months and years.
Well, I love it. Projects. I'm planning on moving here.
So
probably.
Hey, this is not a bad place to live at all. Hey, the Tourism Bureau of Curaçao is not paying me a dime. So,
not yet.
But and I spent 7 years on the beach in Aruba, and I love Aruba as well. And for clarity, I had a house because my wife is Dominican. It's his aunt. 7 years near the beach in and around Santo Domingo.
Yep.
So love the Caribbean, but there's a lot to like here, especially this particular community of Blue Bay.
Yeah,
it's very nice. It's a gated community, and it's a very comfortable place. So,
but going back to the phone
back
stuff.
to devices.
Before
I get on the plane, because I travel for business, I have learned the hard way to have, I think it's a 1 or 2 terabyte. It'll fit in your short pocket. It's bigger than a pack of cigarettes, but still easy to carry. I back up everything right before I leave, but I leave the hard drive at home because I used to carry it with me. And one time I needed it to get a memo. That's when I found out that a full backup is useless to recover one particular piece of software, a memo or an Excel spreadsheet. It's to reload an entire computer.
That's where the thumb drives comes in.
Well, thumb drives, but I carry so many files. I think it's an SSD card. Costs about, it's also, I think, a terabyte. Costs maybe $50 to $100, way more than most people need. And it loads super quick. And that's not even the half of the size of a cigarette pack.
Yep.
I put all of the memos that I'm working on and what I need as reference, and as an engineer, that's plenty. And I have it on that little drive that only I use. Now, the reason why Assy mentioned thumb drives is I periodically go to Home Depot, again, another plug. Not Home Depot, Office Depot, excuse me, but I like Home Depot too. You can tell I'm an engineer. They have them on sale, and you can usually get 4 or 5, 6 of them for less than $20. They're cheap plastic, but they work and they last a long time. But if I'm going to give somebody a file because I didn't have a way to send it to him by email, I'll load it on a thumb drive, none of my other information on it. I give them the thumb drive, they download it and they offer it back, and I go, no, that's yours. It's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, I might even put a company logo on it, and I even get better advertisement. But I'm too cheap to spend the money on the advertising. But and the reason for not taking it back is I don't know what kind of viruses or problems are on the other person's computer. I was in not the central bank, but a major bank, and they're a good bank in all respects, in Colombia. In the first 90 seconds that I was hooked up, my PC was shorted out and I had 2 or 3 different kinds of virus protections on it. At the time, I was traveling with a second PC, and it got through that presentation because I made a copy of stuff and they put it on their computer that hooked into the screen. I refused to do it. But 2 days later, it also caught a virus. And fortunately, I was traveling with a backup drive. But it's crazy to carry 2 PCs and a backup drive. So that's when I went to Mac. And in 17 years, I've never had a virus type problem with a Mac. It's not perfect. They're frustrating. They're different just for the sake of being different. But you can get the Microsoft Office for use on a Mac, and nobody knows that's what you're playing with. And I've had better luck. But I back up before I go. I have everything that I'm currently using, and I have a supply of little thumb drives. And when I went to check for this presentation, I'm down to 1 thumb drive left. So I got to go buy more next time I'm back in the United States.
But the iOS operative system is pretty good. It's pretty secure. I think it's a little bit more secure than Android is, because Android is so open system.
Well, even the phone is better, but the Mac itself. And I asked Apple Tech 2 years ago, do I need a virus protection? And maybe it's arrogance, but they said, no, you don't need it, but if you're motivated. And I said, well, not only am I motivated, I'm paranoid. So I'll tell you what they gave me. And there's a free version and a paid version, Malwarebytes. And it's constantly, I force it to do it, but every few minutes during the day, it's constantly checking my emails in the hard drive and everything else.
The one that I'm using right now in this laptop is Avast. Avast Antivirus. And I paid it was like 30 some bucks for the annuity, and I can link that to my phone, so I can have the license in my computer and into my phone also, because in the Dominican Republic it's very common to have open Wi-Fi, and the people will connect to it because they don't want to pay their own service, the internet service, and they use that to hook you up and to steal your information and to download viruses.
In fact, that's why I try not to use an airport Wi-Fi system. If it's free, it's free to the thief too.
Another thing that is very useful is to have, there's some free apps that you can download from the internet or in the App Store, which is some VPN apps that will help you to change the IP direction on your computer.
In fact, when I'm out, even sometimes in the US, but definitely if I'm outside the US, I use a VPN. There's all of them. They all claim they don't track where you are, but everybody's dubious about that. But I'm not doing anything illegal. I just don't want to be easily tracked. So I've been pleased with mine. It's simple to use. There's 1 or 2 websites that don't like me to be on a VPN when I'm going to their website. It's their financial related, so I don't go on them until I'm home, or I use the hotspot on my phone. So, but you've brought up VPN, and one of your cousins, Matthew, just bought a gaming computer, because he's a gamer, but he's also studying computer science of some sort. And he told me that when he bought it from Best Buy, another plug for them, but he got the technical support package, and I think it was like a little over $100 for a year. But he gets technical support for that device, but he gets Geek Squad support for every technical device he owns.
Oh.
So keep that in mind, because who's to say?
Yeah.
But and Geek Squad is very good.
I might get one of those then.
Just if you have a problem, he's your cousin, just We're
Sure.
part of the same system, and it's for phones and PCs. And I had Geek Squad years back when I was still in PC world
Hmm.
and not buying directly from Apple, and they're very good. They are very good. It's probably worth the money, especially if you're traveling. So jumping around, let's see. I guess the next thing we put on the list were personal items. Remember, I'm 77, so I have a bias and bitter memories and knowing how well I lose stuff and forget
Hmm.
stuff. I need prescription glasses to drive. I had prescription glasses that when you go out in the sun, they turn into sunglasses. That's
Hmm.
wonderful when I'm walking.
Yeah.
That's useless when I'm driving. So I buy and have 2 pairs of very good sunglasses. Make sure they're UV protected. They don't have to be name brand. And if you're like me, you lose them quite often.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, my wife keeps buying me expensive ones and then getting upset when I lose them.
It's
But
just the way she is.
yeah, it's just she loves me. And so, but the prescription glasses with the color change don't help you when you're driving. So if you're not going to have a separate UV protected sunglasses, go on Amazon for like $1.50, $2 each. You can get a pack of yellow, blue, black
Yep.
clip-ons. Again, it's geeky, but I'm an engineer, so I don't care. And they're very effective. They don't take up any room in your case. And if you lose them, so what? They cost
Yeah.
next to nothing. But do not go into sunny areas or even
Without
cold
glasses.
areas with a lot of snow on the ground and not have the ability to have sunglasses on. Your eyes will suffer, and as you get older, you need that prescription. Today's world is hard enough to drive safely. You don't need to be not seeing what's on the road.
Yeah.
So glasses are an absolutely essential thing. Make a checklist, make sure they're in your case or your backpack or your zipped up jacket pocket, and make sure you have at least some kind of spare for both the
Yep.
sunglasses and any prescription glasses. So,
And now that you mentioned prescription, it comes to my mind medicine. What which uh, type of or word not type of the word must be? Are we allowed to travel with medicine and to carry them in our suitcases and personal?
believe it or not, under certain conditions. I think there's some sort of TSA rule, check it, that medicines have to be in a separate bag. And obviously, it's subject to the liquid quantity rule, but there are exceptions for certain kind of medicines for diabetics, formula for babies, that you can go over that minimum liquid rule. But very clearly, and even if it's not clear, common sense says if you are taking a prescription medicine, keep it in the bottle. Make sure the prescription label has your name on it, because if it is a controlled narcotic type substance and it's for your neighbor, you're going to have a hard time explaining
Yep.
why you have controlled substances that your name is not on it. I know a young man that he wasn't, it was his, but he took it out of the jar. And when he was caught with too much weed, his sentence was increased because he couldn't prove that his own medicine was his. So keep it in the jar, make sure your name is on it. And that rule should also apply to over-the-counter medicine, even as something as simple as Tylenol or Advil. If it doesn't have the label built into the medicine itself, or if it's a capsule where the insides could be changed,
Yep.
you need to keep that in the original bottle.
And what if, even though it's prescription and medicine that you're traveling with, what if the bottle doesn't have the label with your name in it, and it's just, let's say, with the supplements or vitamin C from Nature and Valley?
Well, that's what I meant
That,
by over-the-counter. That kind of stuff keep separate from your prescription
but can you
medicine.
have like a letter from the doctor that
Well,
points
no,
that?
if it's over-the-counter and they're not suspicious they can be. And we'll talk about Sweetener in a minute. Something as innocuous as that can get you in trouble, but if you can buy it where you're going, buy it where you're going for
Okay.
any kind of medicine. But it's usually more expensive. Have it clearly labeled. If you're bringing a large amount for an extended stay, bring a bottle of Tylenol where the seal hasn't even been broken, because then they don't want to look inside. Okay, the seal's not broken, and that's probably your best bet. But don't, worst case, whether it's over the counter or prescription or both, and dump it in one plastic bag or one box, because you know the color code and you don't want to be opening up all those jars. That's a recipe for trouble, and the security people would be well within their rights to stop that and hold you up. So, and if you're going to carry more than the large volume of liquid, TSA in the United States does have a way for you to declare it, show it, so that it's not something that they discover. Okay.
Okay.
So
but that's with any kind of liquid.
Oh, there are limits on any kind of liquid. You can't bring a bottle of water at all, but other liquids that you need, like cough syrup or some liquid medicine, there are limits. Even perfume for a woman, there's a volumetric limit.
Yeah.
And it has to be in a certain size bag, or they get upset about it. Rightly so. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you're trying to do. They don't know your political or religious beliefs. So they've just clamped down on all that. But one final thing on medicine, if you're going to be gone for more than a couple of days, make sure you have enough to cover what you need, especially if it's prescription medicine. Because without your doctor's prescription in whatever state you're in, nobody outside that legal area has any obligation to give you a prescription, fulfill a prescription. Some places will help you, others just go, no, I'm sorry. And it's typically way more expensive than you getting it covered under your medical insurance in the United States. So make sure you bring enough. That's I can't overstate that.
That's the same that you gotta bring enough clothes when you're traveling, depending on the part of the world that you're going to, and enough hygiene stuff such as toothpaste, soap, shampoo, conditioner, all that stuff.
Well, I don't care. I don't travel too much shampoo.
I'm not gonna take my hat off, but yeah.
But you've raised a good point. We're in the United States and in Western Europe and all first and even second world countries, we're used to a certain standard of living. If you're going to go into areas that are totally, he's smiling and I know why, we're going to go into totally underdeveloped areas or areas where their hygiene practices are simply different. You need to be prepared because they're not going to cater to you. Specifically, if you had a blindfold on you and put on a plane, you would know when you flew into typically Eastern Muslim countries because they typically don't use toilets like Westerners do. Even the best hotels have a marble hole in the floor with marble places for your feet. And it's real nice, and a hose. They don't have toilet
Pretty
paper
much
either.
The same thing that the local use, but fancy.
Yes. But having been all over the place and in sub-Saharan Africa in many places and a lot of places off the beaten path in Latin America, there just may not be anything. So what you need to do is you can get little plastic boxes and at least a soap box, but take a half a bar of soap. Don't fill the box up with just soap. Have the bar of soap and go buy a washcloth because you don't know what you're going to run into, and have a bottle of water with you, not just for drinking, but for hygiene cleaning. And in today's world, because of the COVID scare, a lot of places have the handy wipes, even that will kill 99% of whatever it is you might be afraid of. It's handy to have those, but if you don't have room or if you get them, forget them. The key thing is that little plastic box with the soap and with a washcloth and a bottle of water.
And maybe hand sanitizer as well. With a little
if you have room,
stuff.
if you remember. But the basic is the soap and the cloth. I'm not going to go into detail firsthand experience. Believe me, I have used my little plastic box with soap and a bottle of water and was grateful that I had it, okay? More than one occasion, because you got to remember your body reacts to the fact that you're in a different place.
Yep.
And Americans make their stupid joke about Mexico and Montezuma revenge. That's stupid. But the truth of the matter is, even if you go to good places and first class and hygienic, and your body is now going to experience different bacteria. And
That's
it's
right.
going to upset your stomach. And so make sure you're prepared. Just
For sure.
be prepared on that one. Otherwise, you're going to be horribly embarrassed and create a health problem for the people around you, okay? Enough said on that. It's embarrassing, but you need to say it because most people may not know that if they've never tried. And not just young people, because, this idea got started because I'm talking to my son.
Yeah.
I got 4 sons, 3 daughters. Well, counting your baby sister, 4 daughters now. And I wanted to pass on like any dad would, but it's not just you guys, it's your generation, but it can also be, I'm on the leading edge of baby boomers and I'm in good health, but there's a lot of people in the baby boomer crowd that are now in their 60s that waited until retirement to start travel. I started travel before I started school.
On your 20s, on your 15, something like that?
No, I left home for the first time when I was 14, but that was to go to the seminary, believe it or not. But my father was in the Navy in the United States. God bless him. He was a World War II vet. And I lived everywhere from Key West to New York. And I think I went to at least 10 different schools getting through the first 12 years of school. Wow. So yeah, I've traveled all up and down the whole East Coast, and when I was a kid, and that put the travel bug in me, and that's why I went into the oil industry. And then after I took early retirement at the ripe old age of 39 from the oil company, I started my own consultancy, and my first big client was the World Bank and then the IADB. So I went all over with the World Bank as a consultant, contractor, not as an employee, for clarity, all over Central and South America and Sub-Saharan Africa and a few other places, but mostly there, into Paris a couple of times as well. So I've been blessed that I've been traveling
all around the world.
Since I was in nappies, I've been traveling. In fact, the place I was born, Bethesda, Maryland, I think my parents were only there for a couple of weeks. They were just passing through. So, at any rate, the travel bug's in me. Let's see, what was the next thing we had on our list, son? Oh,
I think we have covered pretty much everything.
The hat and sunblocks. Again, I'm bald, but whether you're bald or not, having a hat, even if you wear it like he does, and that irritates me.
Blame on me.
Any kind of hat. But if you're out in the sunlight, having it turned the other way to protect your eyes, what most people fail to realize, and it's the fallback or the deficiency of that kind of hat, is it doesn't cover the tips of your ears. No. So I've had cancer cut off my ears because I wore a ball cap the whole time I lived in Aruba. Thank God, because I was bald and I was in the water all the time. I was the only guy snorkeling a half a mile offshore with a baseball cap on, okay? In later years, I've learned a round rim cap is way better because it covers different sides of your house.
More sides of the face,
And I learned with my client, interestingly, with a gold mine in Oman, as well as a massive oil recovery system using reed beds. You should look it up on the internet. It's phenomenal. I was there as a consultant for that. Not only the round rim hat, but if you're going to have a baseball type hat, have it with the flaps that come over your ears and the flap that goes over the back of your neck.
I saw those.
And the beauty of those, the brand I bought also has the build that's rigid, but it folds in 3 places. So the whole thing collapses for travel, makes it very handy, and you can wear it as just a regular baseball cap, or with the ear flaps, or with the neck. And believe me, when you're out for hours on end in the middle of nowhere, in a lot of deserts in the Middle East, you want to cover up everything you can. That's why I typically travel with a long sleeve shirt.
Even if you're just going to the beach and there's no shades.
Something as simple as just going to the beach or working in your yard.
Yeah.
But I never heard nor thought of that until the doctor says, "Oh, I got to trim your ears." I said, "Well, can you cut it look like I look like Spock from Star Trek. I mean, I'm an engineer. I can't help it. Okay, so my wife didn't think that was funny at all. Back to doctors. You mentioned it earlier. Not only prescription, but a letter from your doctor. Mm-hmm. This is really handy. That if you're going to travel, you don't know if you're going to pass out. You know, if you're diabetic, you're super anemic. Having even a one-page letter
with all the disease and complications that you have.
The letters, key contacts of people on that page, and I forget what it was, but it was some sort of a test where they had to inject me with a radioactive material to show up whatever they were testing for.
Okay.
I'm not a biologist or a doctor. And I mentioned to the doctor as I was leaving, it was good results. I didn't have whatever disease they were worried about.
But you had
but I had the radioactive injection. And I said, well, I'm glad I got this done, and I'm glad I'm not sick because I travel tomorrow to Poland. He goes, oh, time out. I go, what do you mean? He said, you've got radioactive isotopes in you. You may not know it, but airports check for radioactivity, because if some misguided or terrorist individual wants to, he could kill a lot of people with a dirty bomb, so it could set off. He said it may not. They may have it set where that low level isn't detected, but you need a letter from me, a signed doctor, whoever put it in you, to explain who you are. You're going to lose an awful lot of time explaining why you lit up their detector. I thought he was pushing it. I mean, come on, it was common. It's not going to be set to that low level. I had no trouble leaving the United States. They either didn't have it on, they were set for the levels.
But what happened in the other side?
That's where the fun began. I landed in Poland, and I discovered that so many of their security people don't speak English. The alarms were going off, people were running around. I'm not going to say weapons were drawn, but they certainly had their hand on the pistol ready to go, and they were running around checking all kinds of things. I figured it was me, so I sat down calmly. When they calmed down, they couldn't find the radioactive source. I go, guys, I think you're looking for me. So they came up with the detector. It lit up. Come with me if you want to live. Kind of a Schwarzenegger situation. They put me in a room. They took them about 30 minutes to find somebody who spoke enough English and could read my letter.
Where was that?
In Poland.
Poland.
Yeah. Beautiful country. Highly recommend it. It's beautiful. Some excellent food. It was a great time once I got out of the airport. But I was not as nervous as I otherwise would have been, nor were they when they were finally able to read the letter. And of course, they took my information, and I'm sure they ran it through every security system in the world. And fortunately, there isn't anybody involved in terrorist activities with my name. I have a friend who's got a very popular name, apparently, amongst terrorists.
Oh, yikes.
He's a nice guy, but the system lights up when his name goes in the system. But at any rate, after a little while, they were very nice people, wonderful people, but I mean, they have to do their job. And they did, and they were not abusive in any way. But if I had not had that letter with me, things could have turned out a lot different. I mean, they have no reason to trust me. So I would have lost maybe a day or two getting to the U.S. Embassy while they checked out my story. So do that. So let's see. We talked about earlier, and I said we're going to come to the Sweetener story.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the last thing we'll talk about.
Yeah.
It's kind of stupid. It's kind of funny.
But
this was
true.
Not our experience. We found this on the internet because we look for travel stories. So our website will have not only our experiences and our conversations, but it'll have whatever other travel advice that we can find that other people have posted and put on YouTube.
Just to support our information.
Yeah. So you don't have to listen just to us. We'd like to be a one-stop shopping for everybody when it comes to travel tips. But there was a story in there about someone that, I don't know why they did it, but they took a brand name sweetener, not sugar, but a brand name sweetener, which is a funny white powder, took it out of the packages and put it in a plastic bag.
Yeah.
Dumb on dumb. I mean, if you want it bulk, they sell it bulk. Keep it in the jar, but they
Yeah,
put it in a plastic bag. Well, of course, the people that inspect their bag see a plastic bag of
with
powder. Of
white
course,
powder.
they open it. They didn't do this because with fentanyl, you die if you take that much.
Yeah.
But when they ran a test on it, I don't know what brand of sweetener it was, but apparently the test lit up for meth.
Oh, Jakes.
But it was a sweetener, but it lit up for meth. So those foolish people who did it. Okay, my favorite philosopher in the world is Forrest Gump. Stupid is as stupid does.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll ever do that again. It cost them a lot of time and a lot of money to prove that
That
they
it
were
was
not in
just
the
a
meth
sweetener.
business. So kind of, it's a dumb story, not our experience, but something that's out there. Please think about what we've told you, and we've got easily another dozen
Yeah.
scripts
That we
already
can cover
highlighted to
in
talk
the
about. So
later
I'll
on.
let you do the wrap up,
Yeah,
and I'll
sure.
shut up and listen.
And just to finish with the idea, with the sweetener's example, with the sweetener's story, you can tell that it's not necessary to carry with you when you're traveling everything that you will need in that place that you are going to. You just take with you the documentation, self-defense items in case you get involved in tight situations. Maybe if you're traveling with important information in your electronics, such as the phone or with the laptop, carry with you a hard drive or the USB sticks. But it's not necessary to take every single thing that you might need, such as the sweeteners. Because let's say if I'm traveling to the DR, why should I
Anywhere has
bring
that.
with me the sweeteners? I can just buy that where I'm going. So
Yeah.
yeah, let's have that in mind. And with that being said, I think it will be okay to call it a wrap. And of course, doing the wrap up, what we have covered in this episode was about health, about security, and traveling among different countries. Everywhere you're going, you might need all these advices. If you be so kind and you think that it might be helpful for us to have any other advice or any other tips, just comment that down below. And yeah, I think that will be it for now.
Yeah.
And we can discuss more um, of these topics later on, or maybe we can talk about something
Yeah,
different. I don't
and
know.
even if you have a variation of experience or something that we haven't considered yet, bear in mind we've already got 12 scripts kind of laid
Yeah,
out. There's a lot to talk
yeah, a
about.
lot.
And in other episodes, you'll find out that
Hmm.
we're developing exercise and self-defense instructions and videos and support for not only young people, but mostly for elderly people like myself,
Yep.
because where the goal isn't just to get in shape, but it's to increase your ability to defend yourself should you find yourself in that situation. But I guess we'd welcome any kind of feedback.
Sure.
Okay, if I've done something stupid and you want to say, yeah, I agree with you, you were stupid, I would prefer it to be a little bit more productive than that. But we welcome your comments. Okay.
Sure. So that will be it. More is planned and more is coming. Stay tuned and thank you for watching.